If you're new to ChatGPT, or maybe you've tried it once or twice and weren't that impressed, there's a good chance the problem was not the tool. It was probably how you were using it. A lot of people give ChatGPT a quick little test, get a weak or ho-hum answer, and then walk away thinking, really not much here. When in reality, nobody ever really showed them how to use it the right way. So in this video, I want to show you 5 common mistakes people make with ChatGPT and how to fix them. Because once you understand these 5 ideas, ChatGPT starts to click and becomes much more useful. Now, the good news with ChatGPT is that you don't have to be some kind of prompt engineer. You just need to understand a few basics about how to use it. And the first mistake is probably the biggest one of all, treating ChatGPT like Google. For example, let's say you type something into ChatGPT like, "What should I make for dinner?" Now, could ChatGPT answer that? Yes, it could. But the answer is probably going to be pretty generic because your question was pretty generic. So instead, you might say, "I have chicken and broccoli. I want something simple and healthy." Now that's already better. It's a step in the right direction because you're giving ChatGPT more to work with. But you can go even further. You could say, "I have chicken thighs and broccoli. I want something healthy I can cook in under 30 minutes using one pan. Please give me 3 ideas." Now you're much more likely to get a helpful answer. The key point is this. When you use Google, you're searching a database for information. When you use ChatGPT, you're giving instructions to an assistant. That's a very different way of thinking. With ChatGPT, you need to give it some direction. The more specific you are, the better the answers you'll get. The second mistake is starting a brand new chat every time you want to add more detail. For example, let's say you ask ChatGPT, "What laptop should I buy?" Then let's say you want to drill down a little further and ask, "What laptops are good for video editing?" But instead of continuing the conversation in the same chat, you start a new chat. Then let's say you want to drill down even further and ask, "What laptops are under $1,500? And again, you start a new chat. Now, could ChatGPT answer each of those questions in separate chats? Yes, it could. The only problem is every time you start a fresh chat, you're resetting the context with ChatGPT. In other words, you're making ChatGPT start over from scratch each time. So a much better way to handle this is to keep one single conversation going. You could start with, "What laptop should I buy?" Then in that same chat, you follow up with, "I want a laptop that's good for video editing." Then, "My budget is under $1,500. Then I prefer Windows instead of a Mac." Now, instead of starting over with a new chat for every question, you're layering in details in the same chat to help ChatGPT understand exactly what you're looking for. And because you stayed in the same chat, ChatGPT still has all those earlier details in memory. ChatGPT works best when you treat it like a conversation. And the more context you give it in the same chat, the more useful and relevant your answers will be. Mistake number 3 is not giving ChatGPT enough situational context. Now, this might sound similar to mistake number 1, but it's actually different. The first mistake was treating ChatGPT like Google. This mistake is asking ChatGPT a real question, but not giving it enough background so it understands the situation. For example, let's say you ask, "What questions should I ask in a job interview?" Now, could ChatGPT answer that? Yes, it could. But the answer will probably be pretty generic because the question is pretty generic. You'll probably get a list like, "Tell me about yourself," or "What are your strengths and weaknesses?" So instead, you might say to ChatGPT, "I'm hiring a front desk receptionist for a busy auto repair shop. What interview questions should I ask?" Now that's already better because you're giving ChatGPT some real world context, but you can go a step further. You could say, "I'm hiring a front desk receptionist for a busy auto repair shop where they'll be answering phones, scheduling appointments, and dealing with stressed customers. What interview questions should I ask to see how well they'll communicate, stay organized, and handle pressure?" Now ChatGPT might give you something like, "How comfortable are you answering basic questions about oil changes, brake work, or tire replacement? If a customer calls and says their check engine light came on, how would you handle that conversation before the mechanic is available?" These questions are way more useful than just generic interview questions. The fourth common mistake when using ChatGPT is accepting the first answer and stopping there. For example, let's say you ask ChatGPT, "Explain blockchain technology." Now, could it? Yes, it could. But there's a chance the first answer might still feel a little technical because blockchain technology is complicated. The first answer from ChatGPT might start talking about distributed ledgers or decentralized networks or cryptographic verification. And for a lot of people, this is where their eyes glaze over, so they just move on. That's the mistake. A lot of people think the first answer is supposed to be the final answer. It's not. It's just the starting point. One option is to drill down into the parts you don't understand. You could say, let's unpack this a little bit. What exactly is a distributed ledger? What do you mean by decentralized networks? And explain in plain English what cryptographic verification means. Or if you want, you can just start over and restate the request in a simpler way. For example, you could say, explain blockchain technology like I'm a beginner and have no prior experience. You can and should ask ChatGPT to simplify, clarify, or explain things one piece at a time until you're satisfied with the answer. And mistake number 5 is expecting ChatGPT to think for you. Yes, modern AI is pretty amazing, but it's not magic. For example, let's say you ask ChatGPT, what career should I choose? Now, could it answer that? Yes, it could. But the answer is probably going to be pretty broad because that's a huge life decision, and ChatGPT does not yet know enough about your situation. So instead, you might say, I enjoy problem solving, technology, and working independently. What careers might fit those strengths? Now that's already better because you're giving ChatGPT some direction. But you can go a step further. You could say, I really enjoy problem solving, technology, and working independently. What careers might fit those strengths, and what are the pros and cons of each? Now ChatGPT is in a much better position to help you think through that decision. For example, it might say something like, software development could be a strong fit if you like solving technical problems and working independently, but it also comes with a steep learning curve. IT support might be a better fit if you like technology but want something more practical and accessible, although it may involve more people-facing work than you prefer. This is the right way to use ChatGPT. It can help you explore options. It can help you compare trade-offs. It can help you think things through. But when it comes to personal decisions, you're still the captain of the ship. So if ChatGPT felt a little underwhelming the first time you tried it, hopefully this video shed some light on as to why. Many times the problem is not that ChatGPT isn't useful, it's that most people were never really shown the right way to use it. But once you understand how ChatGPT works, everything starts to feel a lot less mysterious. And the good news is you don't need to be a prompt engineer and you don't need to be some kind of AI expert. You just need to know how to give ChatGPT some direction, how to give it context, and how to keep the conversation going until you get the answer you're looking for. That's when ChatGPT starts to become a really useful tool.